Hi, PerspectiveWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Wednesday, February 10th. Quite an active weather pattern for the next 10 days or so. Multiple threats of snow or ice or rain in the Mid-Atlantic region and across much of the eastern two-thirds of the nation. There'll be persistent cold as well over the next 7 to 10 days or so. We have a couple of weak systems to deal with in the Mid-Atlantic region over the next 48 hours or so. One system should produce some accumulating snow later today, tonight, into tomorrow morning. Places like D.C., Philadelphia, even up to New York City that can get a little bit of accumulation. The next system for Thursday night into Friday morning is suppressed a little bit farther to the south. It'll have very little, if any, impact in New York City and only limited impact in Philadelphia. And even in the D.C. metro region, the best snows look like they'll be suppressed just to the south of the D.C. metro region on Thursday night and Friday. Then over the weekend and perhaps a couple of times next week, we'll have systems that will have much more moisture to work with. And that raises the possibility of accumulating snow over the upcoming weekend and then again next week. And unfortunately, it raises the possibility we may be setting up for a significant ice event either this weekend or perhaps early next week, even another threat later next week. So again, the possibility exists for significant icing in the Mid-Atlantic region as we go forward through the next 5 or 10 days or so. Here's the latest radar loop from WSI's Intellicast.com. Kind of see one of the problems with these couple of systems over the next 4 to 8 hours or so. They're strung out. They're really the upper level vorticity field, we'll see in a moment, rather stretched out, not a kind of a uniform punch associated with either one of these two systems. And again, one system affects the Mid-Atlantic region from tonight into early Thursday, then a second one Thursday night into early Friday. And lots of snow around, but kind of scattered, nothing all that heavy. And again, that'll make sense once we take a look at the upper level vorticity field. Well, let's take kind of a big picture look here before we get into the local details here for the upcoming 48 hours or so. This is the 500 millibar height anomaly field from last night's ensemble run of the GFS. We've talked about this extensively over recent days. We have a tremendous block right up here over northern Canada and Greenland, and a very noticeable deep cold upper level low right here situated over the southern part of Canada, the northern part of the U.S. And notice here, it's a pretty strong southeastern ridge of high pressure setting up here. Sets up a battle zone right in this region right here between the very cold air to the north and west and the warmer air to the south and east. Also notice, however, when we take a look at this, you can see these lines are very tight in this area. That produces a fast flow, a zonal type of fast flow, and that's helping to keep the upper level support stretched out for these next couple of systems. That's why they're rather weak. The one again tonight and the second one for tomorrow night. But again, this is the battle zone area right here. Now let's just move forward here and watch what happens as we move into the weekend. We'll see kind of a, I wouldn't say a breakdown, but kind of a shifting of that blocking pattern and a little bit of shifting of the polar vortex, or at least a piece of the polar vortex that is sitting over southern Canada right now. Here is the forecast map as we go into Thursday and then Friday. And then by the time we get to the upcoming weekend, one of the things I want to point out at this particular time, by Sunday morning, a subtle shift to the pattern here with that high pressure ridging over the southeast U.S. kind of shifting to the western Atlantic, and that trough focused now over southern Canada and northern U.S. kind of spreads out, starts to develop a broader trough, a more larger scale trough over the central U.S. And as we go through the weekend into the early part of next week, we'll have a kind of a broader southwesterly flow of air aloft between the ridge over the western Atlantic and the trough over the middle of the nation. In other words, a lot more moisture is likely to flow from the southwest to the northeast in this pattern over the upcoming weekend and into next week. That's why these systems over the weekend and again next week, there's a couple of threats, may be more worrisome in the sense that it could be more in the way of accumulating snow or ice A lot of cold air around, and it may be warm enough in the upper part of the atmosphere to result in significant icing with these events over the weekend and next week. But the main point I want to make here is that there'll be more moisture available from the Gulf of Mexico and the southern states for the weekend and the systems next week as the pattern shifts a little bit in the upper part of the atmosphere. Well, let's take a look now at the vorticity maximum from last night's run of the GFS. And you can see right here, as we begin the day on Wednesday, there is energy in the upper part of the atmosphere, but it's not a bowling ball, not a real tightly wound area. This is certainly a little bit more impressive out here off the Baja region of California here, but stretched out upper level support here, hence kind of weak systems coming up both tonight and tomorrow night. Doesn't mean we can't get some accumulating snow, but it certainly limits the chance for significant accumulating snow. And as we go forward, it kind of tends to stay stretched out with both of these systems over the next 48 hours or so. Then we get into the morning hours on Friday, and more impressive waves of energy showing up on the map at the end of the week here. And these two areas will present a better chance for more significant precipitation over the upcoming weekend. Again, it looks like a pretty serious storm threat for later Saturday night into Sunday morning in the Mid-Atlantic region. And that could have accumulating snow, it could have accumulating ice, maybe even rain in some parts of the southeastern part of the Mid-Atlantic region. But again, more impressive moisture and more impressive energy in the upper part of the atmosphere. And then we have another one following right on its heels. This is the Sunday evening forecast. Now Monday morning, another system, pretty impressive wave of energy right on its heels. So we have another threat coming probably in the Monday night, Tuesday time frame of next week. Could even be another one following that a couple of days later. Well, now let's take a look at the surface forecast maps from last night's run of the GFS model. Here's an area of precipitation associated with the first wave, the first system that affects DC, Philadelphia, New York City tonight into Thursday morning. Move forward here. It looks like it arrives in the DC metro region as snow or a mixture at the end of the day or early tonight, maybe a little bit later on. Should be minimal problems throughout the day today in terms of precipitation. Maybe a forerunner of a snow shower or a rain shower in the DC metro region. Bulk of it holds off till after dark. Again, this time the snow should extend all the way up into Philadelphia and even New York City. Thinking on the order of 1 to 3 inches across Philadelphia, and similar amounts in the DC metro region where there should be some mixing. That kind of holds down the snow potential in the DC metro region, at least in the southern half of the area. There can be a mixing of sleet and freezing rain later on tonight into the morning hours. But again, general 1 to 3 inches in DC and Philadelphia. Could be a little bit higher amounts, isolated higher amounts throughout the DC to Philadelphia corridor. Only a coating to an inch or so in New York City. More limited up that far to the north and east. Then we go into the second system here. This is the forecast map for Thursday evening. Whatever falls from the second system should be all snow in the DC metro region as a little bit colder air pushes in. However, it's a little bit more suppressed to the south, and it looks like the heaviest snows with that second band may move over central Virginia to the south of the DC metro region, and certainly its impact should be limited north of the Mason-Dixon line. Places like Philadelphia and New York City can get a little bit of snow tomorrow night into early Friday, but most of it is suppressed to the south of the Pennsylvania-Maryland border. Again, there could be some small additional accumulations in and around D.C. It should be more in the way of snow from the second system in D.C. tomorrow night and Friday morning. So all in all, certainly some accumulating snow across the DC metro region by the time we get to Friday morning. 1 to 3 inches from tonight's wave, not only there but in the Philadelphia region as well. Then we head into the upcoming weekend, and a couple of big problems here. One is we have this strong cold high pressure system as we begin the upcoming weekend on Saturday morning. very strong, very cold air mass, and that sends some cold air down to the east side of the Appalachians. No doubt there'll be some very cold, low-level air. And the second problem is a lot of moisture will gather itself over the southeastern states, tapped into the Gulf of Mexico. Again, these next two relatively weak systems, tonight and tomorrow night, have kind of limited amounts of moisture compared to what the weekend system will feature. And here we go. All kinds of colors here, and that is not a pretty picture here. It could be a significant ice event for parts of the Mid-Atlantic region. We're talking later Saturday night into Sunday morning. Maybe some significant snow north of the Pennsylvania-Maryland border, probably a mixture in the I-95 corridor region. This is something we'll have to focus in on over the next few days. Certainly has more potential in terms of more significant precipitation amounts compared to the next two systems tonight and tomorrow night. Then look at that widespread snow event by the early part of Sunday over the Rockies. That's that next potential system for the Mid-Atlantic region early next week. That cuts right across the country. And again, we have a lot of cold air around situated over the Great Lakes and Northeast U.S. And this could produce another significant icing event potentially in the Mid-Atlantic region, or snow Monday night, Tuesday. That could be a potential big storm, either significant snow and or ice in the Mid-Atlantic region, again with high pressure, cold high sitting at the surface level. What falls is liable to be frozen, not only the weekend, but this particular event here early next week. Again, we're talking there Monday night into Tuesday, and there could be another one following that just a couple of days later, Thursday or Friday of next week. So a very active, volatile weather pattern for the next 10 days or so. We have chances for accumulating snow, chances for accumulating ice, and there will be persistent cold through this next 5 or 10 days or so. So buckle up. That's it for now. For PerspectiveWeather.com, I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.